Okay, so what we're doing here is looking at ordering fractions. So if I'm given a list of fractions, how can I put those in order from smallest to largest? So the first thing I do is look at one of these numbers here, which is 1/2. And knowing that 1/2 sits halfway between 0 and 1, on my number line, I can easily just find the halfway point and put 1/2 in there. Alright, so I add that. I know that's pretty simple. What I need to do now is look at the other fractions that I've got here and work out whether they are smaller or larger than 1/2. And that way, and the next thing I can do is actually put those in the number line, depending on whether they're bigger or smaller. Bigger on that side, smaller to the left. Okay, so what I need to do now is compare the numbers to 1/2 and decide whether they are actually bigger or smaller. So if I look at the first number there, 7/35, the way that I can compare that to 1/2 is to actually set it up like this and times the two out. So in order to do that, put an arrow from 2 to 7, the bottom to the top on the other side, on the opposite side. 2 times 7 is 14, and then I do the opposite direction, bottom to top, and I end up with 35 times 1, which equals 35. Okay, I know that 35 is bigger than 14, so therefore that fraction here, the half, is bigger than 7/35. So I can now put 7/35 over the smaller side. Okay, now I'll look at 3/4 and I say, again, compare that to 1/2 because we want to know whether it's bigger or smaller. Okay, so again, say times 3/4, 3/4, and I say, okay, from bottom of one side, times that to the top of the other side, 6, and going in the opposite direction, 4 times 1, as we know, is 4. So that means that 3/4 is actually bigger, so that goes on our bigger side. Alright, and so on, I go through for 2/8, 1/2 times 2/8. So again, multiply the bottom of one side to the top of the other, I end up with 4, and reverse that, 8 times 1 equals 8, so I know that this is the bigger side, so therefore 1/2 is bigger than 2/8, so I put 2/8 on the smaller side. Now let's compare the last two, so that would be 1/2 compared with 5/6. Again, we multiply out, 6 times 1 is 6, 5 times 2 is 10. So I know that 5/6 ends up, or is, bigger than 1/2. So that means I can put it over this side. Now, I've worked out that these two fractions here are smaller than 1/2 and these two are bigger. But out of these two fractions in either half, which one is bigger out of those two? So we follow the same process that we did comparing 1/2 to those fractions, and we just compare those ones. So I say 7/35 times 2/8. Same process, times the bottom of one side to the top of the other. 35 times 2, 70, and 8/7 is 56. Okay, so I know that 2/8 is bigger than 7/35, so I can now put these in order. So I just say 7/35 goes here, and 2/8 goes here. Okay, now I'm looking at the fractions that were bigger than 1/2. So 3/4 times 5/6, times them out. 4 times 5 is 20, 6 times 3 is 18. So I know that 5/6 is bigger than 3/4, so I can just put those in order around about where they go.